Hi, and welcome to the Thinking Out Loud podcast, a show with meaningful conversations in English with non native speakers. My name is Jendrik.
My name is Masha.
And what sort of two English teachers are we today, Masha?
Today and always, two English teachers who are recording for the posterity. I'm stealing your words. I love it
Stealing
so
my
much.
words. All right. Yes, it's true,
Recording for
guys.
the posterity.
This podcast is a project of the two of us, and
But
it's
this is
true
a very
that
ambitious
I guess
goal.
you mean no, what recording for posterity?
Yes.
I mean, whatever you record, it's going to stay somewhere, right? On
Well,
some servers, unless these servers get I don't know what.
remember the band in the 90s, East 17,
Yeah, I
Dr.
remember that.
Alban. Do you
Yeah,
think
sure.
posterity
These are
will?
my.
Maybe they also thought that they
You
created
have an
for.
ambition to be the second Dr. Alban.
No,
No, but
I
you know,
have an
whatever you
ambition
do
of
and whatever.
being rock sad at least.
Oh, right. I never thought about, reaching any stardom like this. But whatever you record, it stays there, If you don't record, where there's no evidence, no trace of what you've been doing, right? So by saying that we record for posterity, I was more like, okay, this is a project that kind of goes its own path, that, we don't look at others, what are the others doing, how is that podcast, sexy or not sexy, and so on. So we just, we have our own idea of running this show, and hopefully there are people who enjoy listening. That's what I meant.
Okay, so not even
But
secretly you ever
honestly,
hoped for.
no, I mean, yeah, I mean, for posterity, I mean, once you record, if you write, for example, poems or novels or whatever, and you keep it in your drawer, but that's still something for the posterity.
Even if you keep it in your drawer.
Well, yeah,
Somebody someday
someone
will
may find
find.
it one
Ooh,
day. Yeah. That's, it's interesting.
I think that's the
All right,
destiny
so
of my
that's
book.
that's what I meant. Thanks for listening to our conversations weekly, more or less. I guess we try to keep, our weekly rhythm. And there are ways that you can interact with us, including also being on this show. Even though, Masha, I must be honest, I haven't been actively searching for some guests, Guess I have been too busy,
Coercing, you mean?
Coercing? No, I mean, I would never coerce anybody, but I always say that the gates are opened, anytime for anybody. It's actually good to have, more than just our two brains here, some
Claudie.
brain power. Yeah. And Claude, yeah, Claude, but we use Claude as kind of a mirror,
Not as a judge.
not as a judge, as a mirror, because we sort of try to answer questions and then try and
Benchmark.
see what. Yeah, as a benchmark, exactly. Claude is our benchmark, I guess. All right, we'll see what does it
Something to
say today.
aspire to. When I
Yeah.
grow up, I want to be like Claude.
No, but really being like that, having, all these minds eaten, whatever, because I guess that technology is basically um, fed by whatever humans ever posted, right?
Hmm.
Or have written. I guess it kind of consumes the whole of the internet. I don't know, honestly. This is such a clever technology, but I guess it's like somebody said once very cleverly that this shouldn't be called artificial intelligence, but average intelligence. It's like because the answers you get, this is like the average of what humans generally think, I guess.
For now.
For now, yes. Yes, but it's like this. Well, we are actually aspiring to be average.
Now you ruined everything.
And I don't mean linguistically, I mean intellectually at least, to have, things more or less,
What a low
uh,
standard.
you know, all right. No, I'm kidding, of course.
Okay.
You want to be the best. Come on.
Mm. Yeah.
Right. And we are doing our best every time we meet, right? I mean,
Yeah, we're
answering,
dead
fighting
serious about
hard.
it. Yeah.
Yes, yes. All right, great. But at the end of the day, it's a good conversation that matters, having good time. And I cannot separate having good time in a conversation and kind of making an intellectual effort. I think to me, these are, things that converge. They go together, obviously. Unless, yeah, there are different types of conversations, but the ones where you have to kind of rack your brain, it's like, what the hell is going on here, to separate some concepts. This is great. All right, Masha. So with that being said, are you ready to answer the question of the week?
Like I have a choice if I showed up.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. If there was someone else here, maybe you could
Would
have
sit
been
it out,
spared.
yeah, like I always do.
Yes, yes, but given that there are the two of us, so
So it's me.
I would like to ask you a question about a difference, between two
English teachers.
overlapping, yeah, two overlapping concepts. Listen up. What is the difference between guilty pleasure and a forbidden fruit? And where's the kind of line going, between the two? It'd be nice, of course, to establish some kind of well, I don't want to say definitions, but yes, ultimately definitions of what is guilty pleasure, what is a forbidden fruit, especially today. Do we even have any forbidden fruits anymore? And then how do you think do they differ?
Well, I think you think we don't have forbidden fruit anymore.
I think it's quite hard to find these forbidden fruits. Like, could that be? What do you know? Um, morally, these days, a lot has changed. I think as far as laws are concerned, all right, there are illegal subs. I can only think of
Yeah,
smoking when you were a teenager.
you wouldn't call drugs a forbidden fruit because it's not
It's not a
even
fruit,
fruit. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's the problem, because that term fruit means that it's something attractive. Well, are drugs attractive? I mean, I don't
Of
know,
course they
but
are.
probably they are, but this is not a fruit, I mean, the hell, uh,
I kind of
I don't
agree,
know.
but I don't know how to explain it, why it's not a fruit.
Now let's start
Well,
with
because
guilty
something
pleasure.
that
How do
is
you understand it?
illegal cannot be called forbidden fruit. I mean, there are legal things and there are things that are marginally moral.
What did you say that illegal things cannot be called forbidden fruits?
I wouldn't call anything that is illegal forbidden fruit for some reason.
Um, I don't know, maybe we can extend that definition, over stuff that is forbidden because, if it's forbidden, for example,
A wife of
to,
your friend is a forbidden fruit.
yeah, I guess, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, this is something that is morally wrong, right? Or like
You call your
dating
wife
a
of your
married
friend
person.
as a fruit?
Well, in the sense that, this might be an attractive person, right? That otherwise, if she was married, you could try and seduce her,
Yeah, because it's forbidden
and it's forbidden, yeah, because it's
and it's
kind of it's not
sweet.
fair,
Ah,
yeah,
well, okay,
yeah.
that's why we call fruit is sweet.
I guess, because it has to be tempting. It has to be tempting, but it's forbidden, right? But just
But
like the biblical apple, you know.
But you know that this term is used very, very loosely, widely, maybe. When you talk about children, anything you forbid becomes forbidden for just because it's
Yeah.
forbidden. Maybe it's not
Yes.
so sweet and tempting on its own, but as soon as you forbid it, it becomes a forbidden fruit. So it's not
Yeah,
about
yeah. If there's an area,
moral
yeah,
choices or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. If there's an area in the garden where they shouldn't be going, you know, and it's obviously more tempting once
forbid
tell
it.
them
Yeah.
it's forbidden.
So,
Yes.
but if we talk about these, you know, something like, yeah, desiring a wife of your friend, forbidden
Hmm.
fruit, then guilty pleasure, it's not about, I mean, there are innocent guilty pleasures, like what would be considered
I
normal
mean, they
for
will be
some.
innocent. I mean, why innocent if they are guilty? They feel guilty, you know, if
Yeah, but I
feel
mean,
guilt.
from the perspective of other people. For
Oh
example,
yeah.
if you are, for me, some people eat, what is it? Do you know this name, the special name for the um salted fish? Basically, you dry it. First, you
Hmm.
salt it heavily, and then you dry it. It's in Ukraine, it's called taranka. Do you have a special name for
That
it? Is it popular in
tells me
Poland?
nothing. Not really. I mean, not
No.
that I know of. No, not really.
So
It's
there
like
is
salt.
fish. You soak it, or you just don't. You just salt it heavily.
Hmm.
Then you hang it up somewhere to
No,
dry,
no, 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 no,
and
no.
it
It's
becomes
not
very,
in our
very.
culture.
Whoa, this is so much in
All
our
right.
culture.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's a great snack for when you drink, when you drink beer. I don't
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
beer as a
Mm-hmm.
drink, but I like this fish very much, very much. And I know that
Mm-hmm.
it goes very well with beer
But
because
I
it's very
assume it
salty.
kind of works a little bit like all the salty snacks, like pistachios or chips.
What do you mean
Basically,
works?
you can't help eating it. So once
Ah,
you
no,
open
no,
the
no, no, no,
pack,
no. You can't
you
eat a
kind
lot.
of.
No, this fish you can't eat a lot of, unless, I mean, you keep
Mm-hmm.
drinking and drinking.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing wrong about having, a little bit of this fish a little bit from time to time. But for
Mm-hmm.
me,
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely guilty pleasure because I mean I will see the consequences on my face the next day and I will regret it, regret it very much.
But regret it
So,
because it kind of makes you thirsty as hell, or what?
well, it makes my face very, very puffy the next day. Yeah, because
Ah, all right, all right.
yeah, because the salt keeps the water in your body.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's an innocent treat, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very often
For
put,
most people,
you
but
say salty fish, but it's actually strange, but I mean, it's not strange. It's not the first thing
yeah,
would come to
comes to
my
mind.
mind.
Yeah,
But I would say something like Kinder chocolate, eating like the whole box of it. That would be
not for
like a
me.
guilty pleasure.
Not for me.
But then again, if they have something in common, right? They are
I
tasty.
guess my point is that if you generally have a very, very healthy lifestyle, for you, guilty pleasure
Mm-hmm.
would be something that for normal, I don't want to say actually normal, for
Mm-hmm.
people who don't care much about about
Mm-hmm.
eating
Mm-hmm.
healthily would be something they consume every day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very, very relative. That's what I'm trying to say. While
Mm-hmm.
forbidden
Mm-hmm.
fruit would be something universal that all people would agree that, yeah, this is definitely forbidden fruit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I wanted to say I agree, but then I remember about that, the bans that we use locally, like, you forbid your children to do this or
Yeah,
play
if you
with,
talk about this, yeah.
yeah,
In this
then
meaning,
these
I don't
forbidden fruits
think,
could be local, like some very local restrictions
um,
or
but in this sense, they would be all one and the same.
you mean a guilty pleasure
Yeah.
in forbidden fruit?
Yes.
like
If you talk about these local restrictions for children to go and play in this garden would be their
mhm.
guilty pleasure. But
All right.
guilty
Yeah, yeah,
pleasure
because
doesn't have to be forbidden.
no, not at all. It's
No.
actually perfectly legal
Yes.
and there's I want
I
to
mean, for
say
me, I would
nothing
call it
wrong.
guilty pleasure because I forbid myself to
Yeah.
eat it as much as I can. So it's only me who is
Yes.
imposing
Yeah.
this,
Yeah, and the guilt
prohibition.
is something that we feel individually. It's not
Yes,
it's
yes,
not an
yes.
emotion that that can uh mm, I don't know how to put that, but this is an emotion that uh, is inside of us and it's not imposed in a way like bans or restrictions are imposed, let's say globally or locally, but still they're imposed from outside. But I guess
Well, you
guilt
can
is coming from
manipulate people into
inside.
feeling guilty. But yes, they
Yeah,
can.
that's true. That's true, of course. Of course. And I don't even think, if we speak about diet and if we speak about healthy lifestyle, then obviously a lot of that is also the product of culture. There are certain, let's say, there are certain standards that you want to meet, right? As
Hmm.
far as your weight is concerned, your whatever, your body in general.
Hmm.
And then you may feel guilty that, oh my God, I ate too much, of
And
dessert.
in different cultures, healthy lifestyle
Yeah,
may look
yeah,
very
yeah. But
different.
yeah, so that guilt is in a way, it's kind of let's say culturally designed, or I don't know how to say that. But obviously it's a feeling that you get, but you're right, it could be somehow imposed
So you
or,
wouldn't
or
call
artificially
sleeping
evoked.
with another's wife a guilty pleasure. Well, I have my guilty pleasures. I from time to
No,
time
I mean,
sleep with
yeah,
other
yeah, no,
people's
I
wives.
think no, guilty pleasure is something minor, It's not like, come on, sleeping with someone else's wife or husband, I guess it's no, it's not a guilty pleasure, It's
No.
no, no, totally not.
Uh,
But it's a forbidden fruit in a way. I guess one of the last forbidden fruits, unless my imagination isn't that wild. But I think that in terms of morality, because these are usually moral rules that when broken, we say that it's a forbidden fruit.
but you
Like you
know
said,
what?
if
You
there's,
haven't, or probably you haven't seen this TV series, White Lotus. And in
of
second
course not.
season, there was this thing. There were three men, the grandpa, the father, and the son. They were coming from Italian family, and the father had this. I don't know. There's a name for it when you can't simply resist and you sleep around. That's what he did. But then he he so he's the second generation. There were three generations present represented, and he felt really guilty about it. He didn't think that
But
it
you mean
was.
like he was some sort of a sexaholic
Oh, yeah, I don't think that's the there's another.
Mhm.
Okay, doesn't matter. Yeah, but
All right.
he understood that he was doing morally, something immoral. He just
Mm-hmm,
couldn't help it. But interestingly, that his father, he also slept around,
mm-hmm,
and he really saw this as guilty pleasures. His little guilty pleasures, he didn't think that it was morally wrong. He thought that, okay, a man has a right because men by nature are not monogamous, and
mm-hmm,
he didn't see it as, you know, a morally wrong thing as long as he stayed with his wife and
mm-hmm.
and well, that's it. So he definitely saw this as little guilty pleasures of his.
It's like he didn't see the caliber of
Mm-mm,
of
mm-mm.
uh,
He even
the hurt maybe that he was causing or what?
he no he was totally blind to it, even when he
Hmm.
was confronted about it. But I think he even more, he even almost thought that he was entitled to it
Hmm.
as a
Hmm.
man.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, everything depends on certain moral standards, moral rules, you
But
know.
maybe the moral was quite loose back then when he was young, because
Hmm.
he comes from that generation. And maybe again, back then it wasn't forbid. Well, I mean, of course it was not allowed openly.
Hmm.
You see what I mean? It was not so stigmatized, and back then, if a man does it, I mean, what can you do? Men
Hmm.
are men.
Hmm.
So maybe it all comes down to how forbidden, I mean, the level of forbiddenness is, I don't know, what is the noun? Forbiddance? Forbiddance?
Forbiddenness, you
Forbiddenness.
know.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I
the
was thinking
difference
about that.
between,
You know,
you were
if
talking
there's, yeah,
about
yeah, yeah,
caliber.
yeah, 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 exactly. If there's like, big caliber things, they sort of fit into that forbidden fruit
Hmm.
category. Small things like eating, a salty fish or Kinder chocolate, it's kind of guilty pleasure because once again, the hurt is relatively small. I mean, it's either only your conscience, you feel bad, but even if you did some medical tests, everything's fine with you, you didn't gain like 10 kilograms in one night, or something like that. So, but on the other side, um, yeah, to me, a forbidden fruit, even though I struggle to find any other, like, we had these restrictions during COVID time. We had to wear masks and so on. But I wouldn't say that not wearing a mask was a forbidden fruit, so that, however, the thing is that when something's forbidden, especially if that ban is stupid, then obviously it's tempting to go around it or even ignore it plainly. But I wouldn't say it was a forbidden fruit because it's not like, everything, but it's true on the other side that everything that is forbidden, it's kind of, tempting, right? It's kind of
So
tempting.
breaking the rules is by nature tempting for humans.
Yeah, for certain humans, perhaps, at certain, geographical latitudes, maybe. I'm not saying, yeah, because I don't want to say, I don't want to say that it's like it's a universal human quality, that we are always looking to break the rules, for an opportunity to break the rules. And I don't know, you have to be in a way some sort of a wrangler, some sort of a maverick,
Yeah, but here
to
what is sweet is the fact that you're breaking the rules in itself. But
yes,
forbidden
in
fruit, there
itself,
must be a
exactly,
fruit. It must be
exactly.
tempting. Like wearing,
I
walking around without a mask, it's not particularly,
hmm.
tempting. So it
Hmm.
must be this fruit that is so
But
sweet.
then, I'm thinking about this forbidden fruit, this biblical fruit, it was so illogical. Like, why this fruit of all the fruits, in that garden? Because it was a totally arbitrary choice, right? Wasn't like this fruit was particular, this apple, right? Was
You mean it
particularly
should have been
tasty. It's like
banana?
it could have been anything,
No, I'm
could have
sure
been
it's
anything. But
symbolic. I'm
you know,
sure
it is symbolic,
apple
but in the
is
sense
no.
that the apple, I can't remember if there was any mentioning of this apple being extremely sweet or like, um, the absolutely most delicious fruit of the whole garden. Probably not. It was just a random apple tree, but it was said, you don't touch this.
But it was a tree of knowledge, as far as I understand.
Oh yeah, you're right. So in that case, you're right. That was the tree of knowledge. So it was tempting. You're right. It was not about
It
the
could have been
taste, but about the
any, it could have been
effects.
any
You're
apple, but
right.
from
You're
this
right.
tree.
You're right. You're right. You're right. So in the sense, it wasn't an arbitrary decision. Like, you can eat everything because they could, but not this one because I said so. No, but that was the, let's say, knowledge tree.
Hmm.
And once you eat it, then supposedly, you learned a lot, right?
Well, yeah,
All right. Yeah. All
this is
right.
what
All
happened.
right. Hmm.
You're trying to find another example, a good example of a forbidden fruit?
Yeah, I'm searching for some examples of forbidden fruits because, like I said, something is telling me, my intuition is telling me that drugs are not really good forbidden fruits, even though they are
Mm.
forbidden, like marijuana, smoking pot is generally illegal in I think the majority of the countries around the world. And yet, is it a
Yeah, but there
forbidden
must be a
fruit?
combination of two, you know? It must be the temptation and it must be
Mhm.
forbidden.
Yeah, 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 exactly. So the question is, what is, yeah, exactly, the temptation?
Because
There's
if we talk
definitely
about drug,
temptation in
if
the
you talk
case
about
of,
drugs, remove the forbidden part.
Mhm,
Does it stop? I mean, people will use a lot of drug because if a forbidden fruit stops
mhm,
being
mhm,
forbidden,
mhm,
people will not
mhm.
care about it. But that's not the case with drugs, I think.
Yeah, there are different theories, of course.
Yeah,
There's
what will
some
happen if you
people
make
say
them
that, yeah, if
legalize?
you legalize, suddenly it's like, it's not sexy anymore. Um, mm, Look at, I don't know the stats, but I think about smoking cigarettes. It's super tempting when you are a teenager, but after that, it's like kind of, it smells, gives you nothing and just d destroys your budget.
No, I still, the cigarettes in themselves, teenagers choose cigarettes to belong to the group, not because of the
Yeah, but that
taste.
that's the only thing. Yeah, that's of course, but they want to belong to the group of teenagers or belong to the group of adults. Because once you
No,
smoke, and it's kind of, you look kind of older than you really are, right? Or
yeah,
drink.
but that gives you status in your group of teenagers, so it's kind of
Hmm.
both. But I mean, the cigarettes in themselves, they are not sweet. I mean, they're addictive, just like drugs.
I mean, they give you a little kick, but I don't know. But you know what I mean? I mean that it's super attractive exactly for the reasons that you mentioned, because you want to belong, because you want to show others, you want to
Mhm.
feel bigger than you are. And that's why it's tempting. But once you are actually of age, then you can buy legally and smoke, as much as you want. It's kind of.
Well, then the
However, a
same goes for
cigarette
drugs. Then
could be.
drugs can also be called a forbidden fruit
They
because
could be, you're
cigarettes,
right.
after all, it's a drug.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. So drugs are also, maybe they could fit into this category of forbidden fruits, but then again, and because taking them is serious, I wouldn't say that it's a guilty pleasure. Guilty pleasure is relatively benign. It's like,
But for
okay, you may
some people
overeat.
who quit smoking long time ago, a
Hmm.
cigarette once in a while is a
Oh
guilty
yeah,
pleasure.
it's a guilty pleasure. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. It's a guilty pleasure, absolutely.
It's not forbidden fruit for them anymore.
No,
It's
it's
not
not,
forbidden.
but it's a guilty pleasure. Yeah.
So a guilty
So,
pleasure is not something that is forbidden. Only
yeah,
you are
definitely.
the judge.
You're the
You
judge, and you
forbade
said
yourself some
these.
time
Yeah,
ago
yeah, yeah.
cigarettes. Yeah.
Yes, you're right. So the same cigarette could be a guilty pleasure. From one perspective, it could be a forbidden fruit, maybe from
In
another.
this sense, it's much more difficult to resist a guilty pleasure than a forbidden
Hmm.
fruit because you have, your mom or your, I don't know, parliament
Hmm.
bidding you something.
Which is the equivalent of your mom very often.
So it's kind
Right.
of difficult to. mm, I mean, there is enough authority to stop you, but when it's only you who is in your way to try this cigarette or this slice of cake or this salty fish, it's
Uh-huh.
of course, it's only you who
Yeah, yeah, and
decides.
you can lift the barrier
Yeah,
anytime, right?
yeah.
And you're right. With
And you can
forbidden
always
fruit, you're actually
rationalize it
crossing.
and not even feel guilty.
Yeah, unless you have
Deep down,
overeaten and it's
that's,
kind
yeah,
of
that's,
you
you
feel really
shouldn't
bad,
have done that, but
Yeah, 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 yeah.
but you can
I
always
agree.
rationalize it.
Yeah, yeah. But there's no way that you're breaking the rules, right? With guilty pleasures.
Yeah, there will not be any punishment per se. I mean,
Hmm.
only you who can impose it on yourself. But in case if you, um, what is this verb? Pick the forbidden fruit,
Hmm.
and if you're discovered, of course, you will be punished.
Yeah, yeah, because it's forbidden.
Okay.
All right, and just like Adam and Eve were punished, all right, great. I guess we are kind of there, as far as our conclusions are concerned. First is the caliber, that's the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Second, you say that guilty pleasure is harder to resist. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And as for the forbidden fruit, I said there aren't many left these days,
Yeah,
because lots
yeah.
of stuff is sort of available and so on. But yeah, it has to be temp. So much depends on that, moral mm, compass that you have. I'm thinking about stuff, stealing
Not only
stuff.
you, but your community, the society you live in. Because
Yeah,
in some
yeah, yeah.
cultures,
But
sleeping with other men's wives is not even
maybe
forbidden.
okay, yeah. But I'm thinking about stealing stuff. It's generally forbidden to steal. It's illegal, and of course, you may face serious consequences. But would I ever call that forbidden fruit? I mean, it's kind of even, I think
It's
once
not
again,
it's not like every evening you go to bed thinking, I wish I
uh,
could
I,
steal something,
yeah, I should rob this bank.
Yeah. But for
But no,
people
it's
who are
a.
inclined,
Mhm.
because you don't become a thief. Well, I mean,
Hmm.
sometimes you become because of dire, circumstances, but some people become thieves because of the thrill of the adrenaline. And for them,
Because of the
it,
thrill, yeah.
yeah, it might be everything for them is a forbidden fruit.
Yeah.
What a
All
life, you
right.
know?
Yeah, what a life. All right. Great. Masha, ask our dear AI partner, Claudie, what does it say about guilty pleasure, forbidden fruit? Where are these, lines between them?
Okay. It says that they are related, but they have
Hmm.
distinct meanings and connotations. So, forbidden
All right.
fruit comes from the biblical story. Okay, we know that. Refers to something that is explicitly prohibited or taboo. Explicitly, that's
Hmm. Hmm.
emphasizes the allure of something specifically because it's off limits or forbidden. Often carries a stronger sense of transgression against rules, laws, or moral codes. The desire
Hmm.
is often intensified by the prohibition itself.
All
Guilty
right.
pleasure. Something you enjoy despite feeling you shouldn't, or
Mhm.
that others might judge also. Yeah,
Is there an example?
like my mom never approved an extra cookie I had. Not necessarily prohibited, just considered embarrassing. Low brow. Low brow, yeah.
Lowbrow.
Or
What
frivolous.
like eating Kinder chocolate is lowbrow. You're right.
No. Eating instant noodle. Cheap, disgusting, but my son loves it.
You're right. You're right. It's kind of yeah, yeah, you're right. Very often you have to somehow uh reach the bottom, you know?
Yeah.
But all right, great, great, great.
The guilt usually comes from social judgment or personal standards, not external rules. This
Hmm.
is, yeah, this way.
Yeah, that's what we said.
Yeah, of course, we said that. Often refers to entertainment, food, or activities that aren't serious or sophisticated. Yeah, you would never call a guilty pleasure like going to a theater or opera.
Hmm.
It's
Oh yeah,
it's
this is my
never a
guilty
guilty
pleasure. Yeah,
pleasure.
you're right. That's a very good
My
point, you know.
guilty
It's a very good
pleasures. I
You're
go
right.
to
You
opera
know what?
once.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. I mean, guilty pleasure can't be like expensive or, something that, I have an expensive hobby like playing golf, No, it's not a guilty
My
pleasure, I
guilty
guess.
pleasure. Unless you're
Yeah.
Trump.
Unless you're Trump. Yeah, but I guess it's always like falling
And his guilty pleasure is
lower
using
than
using
yeah.
the Air Force One uh plane to take him to
Yeah.
his golf course.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And you can indulge in it freely, but may feel mild
Hmm.
embarrassment about it.
Hmm. Hmm.
For example, watching trashy reality TV might
Yeah,
be a
yeah, yeah.
guilty
Like
pleasure.
reality. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. This is a
Nothing
guilty
stops
pleasure,
you
yeah.
from doing it, but you might not proudly announce it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's not
true.
only you. You may not feel guilty unless others, like in my case, I feel guilty. It doesn't matter whether anybody knows about it or not. But here, yeah, dating someone your parents forbade would be a more of a forbidden fruit. Actually
Hmm.
prohibited, but perhaps more tempting because of that prohibition.
Hmm. Hmm.
Nothing about sleeping with others'
Yeah, well,
wives.
it's close, dating. It's close. All right, great, great, great. Yeah, I liked,
But this lowbrow thing, we totally missed it.
lowbrow. Yeah, we missed it. We missed
Yeah,
it, but I think it's true. Yeah, you're right. It's like
it's
going
totally
to
true.
to opera is not your guilty pleasure. It's kind of. You're right. It's something that is quite embarrassing. And it's usually it has to be, something that is, let's say, below your level.
So recording this podcast will never be considered a guilty pleasure.
No, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. But neither is it a forbidden fruit. As long as recording
As
podcasts by
long as your
individuals
wife
is,
allows you
yeah,
to
exactly.
spend so much time in. Yeah.
Great,
Hmm.
Masha. Thanks a lot for this conversation, and thanks to everybody who listened to it. You can get in touch with us. tolpodcast.com is our website. Don't forget that there's we can always sorry, we can already say no, we can't. I want to say legendary. It's not yet legendary, but there's a nice
Legendary
newsletter.
newsletter. Okay, legendary
Yes, that
newsletter.
that that is published every Sunday on Substack. There is, of course, a possibility to train your English with us.
After all, we are two English
studiomethods.com
teachers.
is there exactly. And last but not least, you can leave us a tip if you feel like rewarding us for our work. Buy us a virtual coffee. The link is in the description.
Or a
End
virtual
of
salty fish
announcements.
for me.
Yeah, or a virtual salty fish for Masha. Exactly. Great. Masha, thanks a lot for this conversation. And it's over to you.
This was another episode of the Thinking Out Loud podcast. Thanks everyone for listening. Stay tuned for the next one. Bye.
Ciao.